They told us vaccines would protect our children. They lied. This is Nash Grimm, January 22nd, 2021, day of vaccination. Picture taken right before Nash's vaccination, after his mother was told that her son was perfectly healthy. January 22nd to February 4th, 2021, timeline from vaccination to crisis. Images show Nash in perfect health prior to crisis. February 4th, 2021, day of crisis. The picture was taken at 7:39 a.m. before daycare. Nash shows no signs of illness. February 4th, 2021, day of crisis. The picture was taken at 5:10 p.m. Nash is paralyzed from the neck downwards. Nash was urgently life-flighted to a children's hospital for treatment. February 6th, 2021, first time awake since being sedated.
I told you there is no good vaccine. There never was, there isn't one, and never will be.
It's been 6 years since the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines. Those who succumbed to the vaccine propaganda now reckon, in retrospect, that the vaccines were the beginning of their health problems.
For those of you who were thinking that, there was no problem with the vaccine, those who were dying, a lot of people died. A lot of people have been maimed. A lot of people have been damaged by the vaccines. These vaccines will cause cancers.
A new study published in the Experimental and Clinical Sciences Journal has found that subjects who received SARS-CoV-2 vaccination showed a substantial reduction in all-cause mortality and a risk of cancer hospitalization that varied by infection status, cancer site, and the minimum lag time after vaccination.
Out of the Defender, all COVID vaccines increase cancer risk, new study concludes. Out of the expose, large Italian study finds mRNA injections have significantly increased the number of cancer cases. 65% of cancer cases received one or more COVID injections, says Croatian pathologist. Moderna confirms link between COVID mRNA vaccines and cancer.
The vaccines were not producing error. They were not a mistake. Some said because they were not tested very well and they were rushed out because of the need of the moment. No, 1,000 times no. They were tested. They were tested long before the time. They were proved to do exactly what they did. One of the questions I asked again and again, those who are behind the vaccines, those who are the proponents of global vaccinations, are the very same people who are not only eugenicists, but are advocates of drastic reduction of population in the world. And I ask you a question. How can those, do you really believe, how can those who want reduction of the world's population by the billions, how could such people create a vaccine to save your life?
Indeed, the eugenicists of our world, who have for so long tirelessly sought to depopulate the earth, launched out with their best opportunity yet through the rollout of the mRNA vaccines. These vaccines have since proven to be deadly carcinogens. A ticking time bomb with a rare kind of cancer that sure takes out its victims with every shot.
It is irrefutable, Mary, that we have seen a significant increase in cancers since the rollout of the mRNA vaccine. It's cancers across the board. We are seeing these very aggressive cancers that people have turbo cancer. We are seeing cancers in groups of people in whom they have never been seen before. Paper after paper proving the pathophysiology by which the mRNA shots can cause cancer and can promote cancer. There are more than 18 mechanisms by which that's the case. So for anyone to deny that it's happening is insanity.
As a family doctor, over the years, a small percentage of the new cancer diagnoses would unfortunately be stage 4 at first diagnosis. But in my practice now, it's approximately 2/3 of all cancer diagnoses since the vax rollout are stage 4. And so, pathologists around the world have noticed this, that unfortunately now the people who had previous cancers which were in remission are flaring up since their shots because of the damage to their immune system by the COVID shots. But new cancers being diagnosed, the tumors are bigger than ever. They seem to grow very aggressively, spread very aggressively, and be very resistant to treatment. So this is being nicknamed turbo cancer.
The first ever population level study that looked at COVID vaccines and cancer found massive increased risk of cancer. They looked at over 300,000 Italians, official government data. They followed them for 30 months. And there was about over a 20% increased risk of any type of cancer in the mRNA injected. But there was also about 50, 60, 70% increased risk of breast cancer, colorectal cancer. There was increased risks of various other cancers, even lymphomas, leukemias. And so this is so damning, right? So we have the experimental, genetic, molecular evidence, very well documented. Now we have the population evidence confirming these increased cancer risks. And in conclusion, mass COVID-19 mRNA injection campaigns did cause a turbo cancer epidemic.
February of 2023, after I've stopped them jabbing the small children, a guy who used to be, I thought he was my friend, probably the man who got me into politics, he came up to me in the House of Commons, put his arm round me, and I thought, this is quite nice, he's being friendly, and he whispered in my ear, and he said, Andrew, you can speak out about the vaccines all you want to, mate. You're vaccinated, he said, that means you'll be dead of cancer soon. And he laughed and walked off. What we know now is that 90% of the nurses and doctors won't take COVID boosters and won't even take the flu vaccine, but they're quite happy to give it to somebody else, something that they wouldn't take themselves. What were the doctors saying about the efficacy and safety of the vaccines? She said, very quickly, they realised that they're hurting people, and they all said, don't take any more. Stop. And I said, and what if you'd given the same advice you were giving each other to your patients? She said, oh, you knew you'd lose your license, you'd be fired, you'd be sacked. Because the most powerful vested interest in the world are behind the vaccine rollout and the harms that have been done. I was offered a bribe in January 2022 of anything I wanted in the world to sell the people out. They offered me anything I wanted to shut up.
Who did that to you?
Senior officials from Number 10. They were doing it on behalf of people well above Number 10.
To make you say what?
They said to shut up. Shut up about the lockdowns and the vaccines and complaining about what the government had done.
Within this same severely corrupt and evil health climate, the most vulnerable and helpless in our world were also strategically targeted. And these are little children and teenagers.
In 2023, Kevin McKernan, who's here with us this weekend, yay, found 4 DNA genetic sequences of SV40 from the plasmid used for mRNA production inside the most used brand of all COVID shots in the world. The SV40 DNA sequences enhance the E. coli plasmid to make more spike RNA for the vaccine manufacturers. Everything apart from the code for that spike mRNA was supposed to be removed from the vaccine that the public received, but it wasn't. 2 months ago, further testing of the updated Pfizer jabs by McKernan showed the SV40 to still be there, but get this, with a 2 times concentration in the pediatric formula.
With a 2 times concentration in the pediatric formula.
This is the reason we're having juveniles having cancer. For God's sake, what's a 5-year-old having cancer for?
Type in FDA licensed vaccines on your computer, and every vaccine that they give your child on the childhood schedule will appear there. And then you can click on any one you're interested in. Let's click on Recombavax HB. This is one of the hepatitis B vaccines they give your baby on the first day of life. Hello, welcome to the world. Gasp for your first breath, and here comes your first sexually transmitted disease.
When she was just 17 months old, Goldie's parents knew something was wrong. She couldn't tell them, but she was in pain. She stopped standing, and she couldn't hold her head up. Then came the shock diagnosis.
Find out that, your daughter has cancer, not just one of the world's rarest cancers, but it's super aggressive, and it's in her spine and in her pelvis.
The other problem that we're seeing with young kids that have been COVID jabbed is now the turbo cancers. Before COVID, turbo cancer wasn't even in the language of physicians. There was no such a thing, really, or it happened so rarely it wasn't even talked about. Now it's just common language. And the reason they call it turbo cancers is because from the time it's diagnosed until the time the person dies can be months, weeks, and sometimes even days. And we are seeing cancers in younger and younger children that we generally only saw in adults. Cancers like prostate cancer and breast cancer and colon cancer in like 8-year-old kids.
What?
And pancreatic cancer in like teenagers. Those cancers were generally diseases of people in their 40s, 50s, and older. And we're seeing these cancers in these young kids that have gotten the COVID jab.
There's more cancer in the world now than ever before. Why is this happening? They're making lifetime customers of sick people.
Vaccinating children and breaking their immune system at an early age creates a customer for life, forever. Suddenly they've all got medications they have to take for ADD, ADHD, asthma, eczema. They got inhalers. They got all of these things. And also, not only does it drive the pharmaceutical industry, it drives the entire healthcare system. Because you go in and see the pediatrician, and now you got a seizure disorder. Now you got to see the neurologist. Now you got to get an EEG and an MRI. And maybe you have a special type of seizure, so you have to go to a specialist. It drives the entire system. Think about unvaccinated children. How many times do they go to the doctor? Maybe once a year for a school physical for sports. And that's it. You can't drive a multi-billion-dollar industry when kids are not sick.
The way that our system profits right now is that the more you do to someone for a longer period of time, the more money you make. So that basically lends straight to, okay, we want to have a lot of chronically ill patients in the system because chronic illnesses are the type of diseases that you're going to have for years and that need to be managed for years, doctor visits every year. And the way we look at chronic disease in our country is it's like, okay, they're each different. High cholesterol is different than high blood pressure, is different than heart disease, is different than stroke, is different than dementia, is different than arthritis, is different than cancer. They're all different. So that's a bunch of specialists we can go see for life, and that is super profitable.
Doctors used to listen to parents. When their parents came in and said, hey, my kid is suffering with this condition, has this issue, doctors listened to them. But when parents started coming in and saying, my kid went in and got a vaccine and then started having X issue, that's when doctors stopped listening.
The so-called professionals had no idea what they were doing. They didn't even know what they were talking about when they were asking everybody to get vaccinated with the mRNA vaccine, that they had no idea what it was. And I told you the reason for the vaccine was because they wanted to get under your skin. It had nothing to do with your health.
There are only a handful out of the 100,000 doctors, Canadian doctors, that didn't take the vaccine that are still practicing medicine. So it's something like 99.9% vaccination rate. And they were the first ones to line up for their vaccines. Well, as I started looking at the sudden deaths of Canadian doctors, I realized, yes, most of them are dying from cardiac issues, heart injuries, cardiac arrests, dying while jogging or swimming, dying in their sleep. And Dr. Peter McCullough has talked about this extensively, about the myocarditis and the damage to the heart, the scarring to the heart. And then some were dying from blood clots, pulmonary emboli, strokes. But then there was quite a large subset of doctors who were developing extremely aggressive cancers. And cancers at an age that they shouldn't be getting. So, for example, there was a doctor who developed gastric cancer in his 30s. Presented at stage 4, he was dead in less than a year. Very rare brain cancers in young individuals in their 20s and 30s, medical students, medical residents. And these cancers would always present at stage 4, and they would always kill them in a matter of a few months and it was always less than a year. And, at first I didn't know, what the term for this was or what the phenomenon was. I just started, really paying attention to it, tracking it. I then, realized that this is being called turbo cancer by people on social media. Turbo cancer is not a medical term, but it's a term that people came up with to really describe the extremely aggressive nature of these cancers in the COVID vaccinated. And these cancers behave completely differently, unlike anything I've seen before in my career.
Corroborating these firm assertions, the evidences have come into full disclosure. Laughably so, the same advocates for these deadly vaccines took a great fall to cancer after they got vaccinated, as in the cases of these specific individuals.
It's like synchronized. Yeah, synchronized swimming. Hold on, let's get ready.
Take your time. Don't you get hold of
Okay, ready? Here we go.
He's got to get the cover.
Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There you go.
MSNBC President Rebecca Cutler has been diagnosed with breast cancer.
A lifelong advocate for women's rights who led Planned Parenthood for 12 years, has died after a battle with brain cancer.
The world is not the same as it was yesterday. A man things are changing. The only way we can move on to be healthy is one of the vaccinated.
Matumbo, 58, was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor in September 2022 and died 2 years later on September 30th, 2024.
Really excited about the fact I can get another jab fairly soon. So all you anti-vaxxers, all you idiots, all you nutters who go on trolling me, you know what you can do? You can get the vaccine. Because if you've got the vaccine, we have a lot less trouble.
So I'm terminally ill. I'm at the end of my cancer, people call it journey, expedition, whatever. I'm right at the end level. I'm off all treatment. There is no treatment that I can have anymore.
Unfortunately, people like James Whale, who mocked the anti-vaxxers, became a sheep who ignorantly gave his life to the slaughter on the altar of vaccines. How sad.
So these people that have had this vaccine, I'm sorry to tell you, you've compromised your body. You have compromised your health. And one cardiologist said, by having the jab, you've compromised your heart 100%. So this is what the government has done to you. This is what the bureaucrats have done to you. You were led like sheep to the slaughter. You were led like sheep to the slaughter. It's numerous health issues. I'm pulled up usually all the time that people now have health issues. They had the vaccine. I said, don't have any more. An inquiry that we had, that One Nation got up and had Pfizer and Moderna there, who said, oh no one was forced. What a load of rubbish.
Think about it. No matter the damage caused by vaccines, they're free. The big pharma will be free. Why did they seek that? Because they knew there would be trouble. They knew they did something terrible. I mean, normally when you bring out something good, you say, I stand by this product. I stand by it. If you use it the right way, as we have prescribed, you'll be fine. But they can't say that.
And why did the government indemnify these pharmaceutical companies? Why were they indemnified? Here we were giving vaccination to people that weren't tried, tested, and proven. I keep saying that. A batch of this stuff actually killed people.
If vaccines are so safe, why are they the only consumer product where you cannot sue the manufacturer for injuries? The claim was made safer. It's been 1980s, it's been over 30 years they're telling you have be safe, hib safe, these are safe. You still need immunity?
Think about it. If you're a vaccine manufacturer and you have no liability for your faulty products, which in 2002, I believe, the U.S. Supreme Court said vaccines are unavoidably unsafe. And you don't have any incentive at all to make them safer because who's going to sue me?
And so millions around the world were deceived into taking the vaccine. It maimed many, destroyed many lives, and there are many still going through the terrible issues. If you are expecting that they should come to the world and acknowledge their errors and say, well, we are sorry for giving you vaccines that don't work. No, you're making a mistake. They will not apologize. No, because it was not a mistake. They're not going to be repentant. Instead, they'll double down on their efforts.
Even after destroying so many lives with the deadly COVID vaccines, the perpetrators of this evil are unrepentant. And now, under the guise of saving many from cancer which they created, the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, has decided to create cancer vaccines with the same profits made from the COVID vaccines. How evil.
Now, Bourla has stated that after the decline in COVID-related revenue, the company is betting its future on oncology, and they gave everybody who took the COVID shot terminal cancer, and now they're going to use those people for more profits. This is the biggest crime against humanity. The COVID vaccines were actually causing cancer. Now you have a cancer treatment? They're talking about cancer treatments with the same light speed approach that was used for the COVID-19 vaccine. No one should rely on those. And this is following the $43 billion acquisition of Seagen. Pfizer aims to deliver 8 potential cancer breakthroughs by 2030. Listen, that just tells you they are planning on killing more people by 2030.
The profits that we were able to generate during the COVID period, which was significant, to reinvest them. And the area that we picked was cancer. This is where the bulk of our investments were. And for several reasons. One, because we were already good at cancer. And the second was that we had a fantastic opportunity with the acquisition of Seagen to double down on it. But also because cancer is so personal. And cancer affects so much the world and affects so much our colleagues. And I knew that that's a wonderful pillow. We save the world from COVID, now we'll save the world from cancer.
To save the world from cancer? Or to destroy more lives with cancer? In effect, the latter can only be the result based on their track record with COVID vaccines.
Remember that you were warned. Don't let anybody push you into getting the COVID vaccine. We must not allow ourselves be deceived. You want to improve your health? Pray in tongues. Pray in the Spirit. It'll produce results in your body. I'm talking about activating the latent power of the Spirit.
Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health as it goes well with your soul.